Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasani Balachandra.
A very good evening to you. I am Dishan Virakon, and we start off by taking a look at your headlines for tonight.
An interim order issued on People's Bank preventing the payment to the Chinese firm which had imported fertilizer. A booster shot for fully vaccinated persons from November 1st. The government emphasizes that no risk prevails over a fuel shortage. The appointment of a parliamentary select committee to amend the election regulations is satisfactory. A statement from the Elections Commission. A MOU was signed with Poland for the promotion of organic fertilizer.
Moving on to those and other stories in detail. An interim order was issued today on the People's Bank preventing the payment to the Chinese firm Qingdao Sewin Biotech Group Limited on letter of credit. The National Plant Quarantine Services tested the samples of the relevant fertilizer consignment and confirmed the presence of certain types of harmful bacteria. The attorneys representing the plaintiff informed the courts that under its shipping advice, the relevant company has admitted in this regard. Accordingly, the Ceylon Fertilizer Company Limited was able to obtain this interim order from Colombo Commercial High Court against Qingdao Sewin Biotech Group Limited, its local agent and the People's Bank. The Ceylon Fertilizer Company Limited previously obtained an interim order against the Chinese company and its local agent from the Colombo Commercial High Court. The consignment is a partial shipment worth more than 1 billion rupees procured through a tender process by the Minister of Agriculture.
In the meantime, Minister Rajapaksa says that the inoculation of the booster vaccine dose for the country's citizens will begin from November 1st. Now, the booster shot will be primarily given for frontline workers engaged in the COVID-19 prevention process. Minister Rajapaksa said that the inoculation of the booster shot will commence from November 1st. He added that over 2 million vaccine doses are available to commence the program. Accordingly, the program will begin with the inoculation of the Pfizer vaccine. The minister said that the frontline workers will be prioritized under the program. Accordingly, he added that health workers will receive the booster shot first, followed up with security and other relevant sectors. He said that the inoculation of the booster shot is expected to be completed within a period of 3 to 4 months. He said that the vaccines have been given to the entire nation free of charge. He said that the program to provide the booster vaccine will be commenced as a welfare initiative for the nation. He said that the country has been able to control the pandemic to a positive level.
මට්ටමකට අද රටේ මේ තත්ත්වය කොවිඩ් වසංගතය සම්බන්ධ යම් පාලන මට්ටමකට ගෙනල්ලා තිබෙනවා. ලෝකයේ දිහා බලපුවාම තාමත්ම සාර්ථකව කරපු අවස්ථාවල් බොහොම ආඩම්බරෙන් සමරන වෙලාවේ ඊට සතියකට පස්සේ ඊට නොසිතූ විදිහට එය ව්‍යාප්ත වෙච්ච අවස්ථාවන් අපි අත්දකිනවා. ඒ නිසා මේක යම්කිසි විදිහේ අඩුවීමක් යම්කිසි විදිහේ පාලනයක් උනායි කියන එක සහතිකයක් නෙමෙයි. මේ කොවිඩ් වසංගතය මෙතනින් අවසාන වේගන එන ලකුණුයි මේ පේන්නේ කියලා.
The Ministry of Health has issued revised health guidelines for various events, including wedding ceremonies. Now, accordingly, wedding ceremonies can be held with a maximum of 1/3 of usual capacity of the hall, not exceeding 100 persons. Outdoor wedding ceremonies can be held with the participation of 150 persons. No liquor will be permitted to be served in such ceremonies. Now, also, the restaurants can be opened with a maximum of 1/3 of the usual capacity without exceeding 75 persons. Outdoor arrangements are encouraged and 100 persons can be accommodated under the new guidelines. Physical official meetings or events can also be held with a maximum of 1/3 of the usual capacity not exceeding 150 persons. Director General of Health Services Dr. Asela Gunawardana said that steps have been taken to remove the restrictions imposed on movement between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. Now, a total of 440 COVID-19 infected persons were detected from the country today. 19,428 active cases have been reported thus far. A total of 300 recoveries were reported today, increasing the overall tally to 504,003. The Director General of Health Services has confirmed 14 COVID-19 related deaths which had occurred yesterday. The University Grants Commission has taken steps to resume university academic activities from November 1st. A program to distribute hand washing and temperature measuring equipment for 57 preschools in Durangura Divisional Secretariat Division was held yesterday. The event was held with the participation of State Minister P.R. Nishantha. The World Bank and the Sri Lankan government has sponsored for this initiative. A total of 28,262,495 vaccine doses have been inoculated in the nation under the COVID-19 immunization program. 50,061,354 persons have received the first dose of the vaccine, while 30,201,141 persons have received both the vaccines. A total of 115,698 vaccine doses have been inoculated yesterday. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga has requested Minister ChannelEye Rupavahini to look into the possibility to make the use of the COVID-19 vaccination card compulsory. The minister has pointed out that the vaccination card can also be made compulsory for the foreign tourists as well. Minister Ranatunga made this request during a meeting with the Health Minister on the tourism industry. Minister Rupavahini said that future measures in this regard can be discussed with the relevant authorities. The minister pointed out that the country's economic sector can be rebuilt following the normalization of the tourism industry. The inoculation of children between the ages of 16 and 19 is currently underway in many districts in the country. Several vaccination programs were held in schools in Vavuniya. Another vaccination program was held at the Kotikawatha Rajasingha Vidyalaya today. The program was organized for the children in the age of 16 and 19. A vaccination program for children between the ages of 16 and 19 was held at Kote Ananda Shastralaya today. Vaccination program for persons between the ages of 18 and 19 was held at the Durangura Miriswatha National School.
The first poppy flower to commemorate the Remembrance Day was pinned on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat today. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Ex-Servicemen's Association, Major General Upul Pereira, pinned the poppy flower on President Rajapaksa. The Remembrance Day was commemorated in 1994 in Sri Lanka, and this year it celebrates the 77th poppy flower commemoration. The income earned by selling the poppy flowers is used for the welfare of the retired and disabled war veterans. The 2021 Remembrance Day commemoration will be held at the Cenotaph War Memorial at the Vihara Mahadevi Park on November 14th morning to commemorate the war heroes who sacrificed their lives during the First and Second World Wars, as well as the civil conflicts in Sri Lanka for 30 years. The Sri Lanka Ex-Servicemen's Association also pinned the poppy flower on Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at the temple trees today. Chairman of the association, Major General Upul Pereira, presented their annual magazine to the Prime Minister. Minister Johnston Fernando was present at this occasion.
In the meantime, Cabinet approval has been granted for the initiation of a pharmaceutical zone in Millava area in Horana. Now, this project has been named as SPMC Lotus Pharmaceutical Project. The Cabinet approval was granted for this project on March 8th this year. A 65-acre land has been allocated for the project. A suitable consultancy establishment will be selected following the international bidding methodology. Cabinet approval was granted to take necessary measures to establish 3 factories for the manufacturing of orthopedic and neurosurgical equipment, anti-cancer drugs and general oral drugs. The relevant proposal was presented by Minister ChannelEye Rupavahini. Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to set up a container goods inspection centre. Accordingly, a 19-acre land belonging to the Sri Lanka Land Development Corporation has been allocated for this project. The relevant proposal was furnished by Minister Basil Rajapaksa. The Cabinet of Ministers has also approved the proposal presented by Minister Chamal Rajapaksa to expedite the North Central Canal project constructed under the Maha Valley Water Security Investment Programme. The construction is expected to be completed within a period of 6 years, will be completed within 4 years under the new proposal. Cabinet approval was granted for the proposal presented by Minister Ramesh Pathirana to obtain necessary technical assistance to facilitate the process of registering the geographical indicator for Ceylon tea. Accordingly, a tri-party agreement between AFD Institution, CIRAD Institution and Sri Lanka Tea Board will be reached for this purpose.
Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to award a long-term contract to a Singaporean company to import fuel for a period of 8 months from next year. Co-Cabinet spokesman Minister Ramesh Pathirana made remarks in this regard during a media briefing held today to announce the Cabinet decisions. Minister Ramesh Patirana said that the Cabinet of Ministers granted approval to award the relevant contract for Singapore's Vitol Asia Private Limited as recommended by the Special Standard Procurement Committee for a period of 8 months after January 1st next year. He said that the government assures that no fuel shortage would occur in the country in the future.
Now, Co-Cabinet spokesman Minister Ramesh Patirana also says that the government expects to fulfill the organic fertilizer requirements of the farmer community in the country.
In relation to weedicides and pesticides, the Secretary of the Agriculture Ministry would take decisions. There are certain chemicals that we need to import to control certain diseases. Actually, when it comes to the organic fertilizer production, we have a decent background and we are quite hopeful that we should be able to fulfill the requirement during next 1 year's time down the line. But we have a question mark in relation to weedicides and pesticides. So for the time being, the Secretary of the Agriculture Ministry is vested with that power to import the required quantity as and when necessary.
Addressing the briefing, the minister said that even though Sri Lanka is a non-aligned nation, the government would not import substandard fertilizer quantities from China based on historical ties between the countries. He also expressed remarks over the National Nephrology Specialized Hospital.
Foreign policy-wise, we are friends of all, enemies of none. We are a non-aligned country, so there is no shift in relation to the relationship between Sri Lanka and China. Historically, we have remained very good friends and we have a very strong relationship, but it doesn't mean that we have to import something of lower quality, substandard product to Sri Lanka because of that friendship. So that's why we have categorically stated the fact that we have found out the fertilizer that were to be imported to the country were of low quality. That's why the government has rejected that. We can very clearly explain our position to Chinese government. Building hospitals wouldn't be the answer to this health crisis. You know, a significant number of people, especially from north central province of the country, have suffered due to this kidney disease, which was of unknown origin. So parallelly, we have to provide treatment centers for the people, those who are affected by kidney diseases and also those who suffer because of carcinoma and other conditions. But prevention is better than cure. So we are taking necessary measures to prevent the spread of the disease. In relation to that, the limitation of chemical fertilizer and agrochemical is a vital move. That's why His Excellency the President has taken that initiative to ensure that we prevent the disease rather than treating them.
The minister further said that the ban imposed on vehicle imports expected to be eased after resolving the prevailing dollar crisis in the country.
Some of the people have lost their job and also their business have been affected in relation to because of the fact that we have curtailed importation of vehicles to this country. That was basically due to the foreign currency deficiency we encountered during last months. But as at now, there is no shift from the policy decision we have taken. But on futuristic basis, if our reserves go up, if we have sufficient dollar income, we should be able to reverse that decision. Until such time, central bank would announce a different scheme in time to come. That is for them to pay the bill or the letter of credit to be opened and the dollars to be sent from another source, not from Sri Lanka, given the backdrop of this difficulty that we encounter. But hopefully, things will come back to normalcy after 3 to 4 months' time. That's the expectation of the government.
Prime Minister Minister Rajapaksa has instructed state ministry secretaries to meet with the cabinet ministry secretaries at least once a month to discuss on development-related issues. The Prime Minister expressed these remarks during a meeting to review the progress of several state institutions, including a few projects. The relevant meeting was held at the Temple Trees last evening. Funds allocated for the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing for the year 2021 are at 55,452 million rupees. Issues pertaining to essential recruitments for the ministry-affiliated projects were discussed at the meeting. The Prime Minister instructed to take necessary steps in fulfilling the relevant vacancies if a revenue has been earned for the projects of these institutions. The Prime Minister also inquired over the failure to plan a project to mitigate the inundation of the Panadura town area. Authorities pointed out that steps have been taken to reconstruct 65 tanks in 6 districts under the Vari Saubhagya initiative, and the reconstruction of 23 tanks under this program had already been completed. Chairperson of the Marine Environment Protection Authority, Darshani Lahandapura, said that the marine pollution occurred from ships in Sri Lankan waters has been able to reduce by 65%. The attention of the Prime Minister was directed on the damage caused to the marine environment from the Express Pearl ship incident. Chairperson of Marine Environment Protection Authority, Lahandapura, said that the process to file indictments for the damages caused from the ship accident has been expedited. The preliminary report of the 40-member expert committee led by 2 professors in this regard will be submitted on November 30th. State Minister Mohan De Silva was also present at the occasion. Prime Minister Minister Rajapaksa instructed the Health Ministry Secretary to direct the memorandum, which consists of new development projects related to Kurunegala General Hospital, to the next cabinet meeting. The relevant instructions were directed during a meeting held at the Temple Trees today on the new development projects of the Kurunegala Provincial General Hospital. The Prime Minister said that the relevant constructions should be commenced by allocating financial provisions from the budget 2022 following the approval granted for the project. Memorandum. Prime Minister Rajapaksa instructed Health Ministry Secretary to declare the Kurunegala Hospital as a teaching hospital. The new hospital will be constructed with all facilities. The project consists of a separate bus service for the patients arriving to the hospital using buses and a bus station within the premises of the hospital, and the constructions of the hospital will be carried out under the green concept. The project will also be expected to provide high-quality surgical, pediatric and maternity services, as well as the construction of a state-of-the-art teaching ward complex and direct access for the expressway and the railway station. Minister Johnston Fernando, Secretary to the Prime Minister Ghamini Senarath, Prime Minister's Chief of Staff Yoshitha Rajapaksa and Additional Secretary to the Prime Minister Chaminda Kularatne were also present at this occasion.
In the meantime, Parliamentarian Heshavitan alleges that an internal conspiracy has been stirred within the Samagi Janabalawege against him and Parliamentarian Chaminda Vijayasiri. Now, speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, Parliamentarian Heshavitan requested the party leadership to conduct an inquiry into the conspirators. Parliamentarian Heshavitan said that several days have passed since they had handed over their resignation letters as electorate organizers to the party General Secretary. He said that an inquiry should be launched on how such confidential information was leaked from the party. He added that party leader Sajid Premdasa should conduct an inquiry to identify these culprits.
An MOU for a public-private partnership was formalized today for the promotion of organic fertilizer production in Sri Lanka. The agreement was signed between Colombo Commercial Fertilizer Limited and Polish venture capital firm Regina Paperia Fundas. Accordingly, a total of 200,000 metric tons of organic fertilizer are expected to be produced annually. The total investment is at 12.8 billion rupees. The public-private partnership was formalized in the presence of State Minister Shashindra Rajapaksa, Secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture Professor Udit K. Jayasinghe, Chairman of the Colombo Commercial Fertilizer Limited, Metsiri Vijayawardena, and President of the Polish venture capital firm Hubert Drabek. The relevant organic waste input for production will be provided by Colombo Commercial Fertilizer Limited.
We are very similar. The Poland, we have a 93% of our land is agricultural land. The 50% of our land is just under the cultivation. So, of course, we have the same challenge like you, that you have to manage that cultivation most properly, and especially in the trends which are now going on in the world. But you made a much braver decision than we did in Poland. You made a very brave decision because you decided that you will just do the right thing. You decided, your government, you as a nation decided that you will switch off from something which is not really good. I'm telling that as a chemist. And you're trying to reach something which not so many countries decided to do as a nation. You started doing good things, you know, taking care of your soil. I know how it is because during the communism time in Poland, we cultivated our ground with the chemicals very intensively. We have 2 biggest European chemical fertilizing companies producing that in Poland. And we know how bad food was when we were having food fertilized only by the chemicals. I would say I feel only respect that you made that decision.
Now, Chairman of the Election Commission, Professor Nimal Punchiheva, says that the appointment of a parliamentary select committee to amend the election regulations is satisfactory. He made these remarks while addressing a media briefing held in Colombo. Chairman of the Election Commission, Professor Nimal Punchiheva, said that in order to conduct a free and fair election under the electoral system, the existing regulations should be amended. Accordingly, he said that he made a request to the Prime Minister for a parliamentary select committee in this regard, to which he agreed. He also said that they made a request to the President as well. He said that such a select committee has not mediated with the election laws since 2007. He added that all parties have come together to bring in necessary amendments, and currently the committee is in their final stage. Accordingly, he said that the relevant recommendations will be submitted in the near future. He said that considering the existing registration of the political parties and the existing system, it has been observed that certain parties have been formed for other objectives and not for public representation. Chairman of the Commission said that they have received 159 applications for registration in 2020. However, he added that the number was reduced to 40. He said that the number of recognizable parties will be announced in the near future. He also said that an observation made to simplify the presentation of the voter list was considered. Therefore, he said that several avenues will be pursued to look into the use of new technology in this regard. Now, in more stories, the Urban Development Authority says that all necessary steps have been taken to safeguard the Muthurajavala Reserve, even though certain entities have alleged that the reserve is unprotected. Now, the authority expressed these remarks while convening a media briefing in Colombo today. Now, the chairman of the Urban Development Authority, Major General Udaya Nanayakara, said that the authority is expected to completely safeguard the Muthurajavala Reserve. Accordingly, he said that the government issued a gazette notification to prevent ongoing activities in the reserve and to conserve the environment. He said that the authority has not requested the residents of the area to evacuate the adjoining regions. Also, fisheries community in the Nigamba Lagoon has not been requested to halt their fishing activities.
Now let's take a look at a few local news in brief. The use of digital QR code system in the Katunayake International Airport was introduced at the arrival terminal in the airport today. Accordingly, this facility will be available for passengers arriving into the country. Chairman of the airport, Major General G.H. Chandrasiri, and State Minister D.V. Janaka were present at this occasion. A meeting between Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi and Indian High Commissioner Gopal Bhagle was held today at the High Commissioner's official residence. The High Commissioner agreed to provide training for Sri Lanka's train engine drivers in India. Minister Vima Veeravansha engaged in an observational tour at the Mathugama Valipanna Mahindra Ideal Lanka Vehicle Assembling Company, which is under the Ministry of Industries. The company began its assembling operation of small trucks today. Sri Lanka Army Commander General Shavendra Silva, who is currently on an official visit to Russia, received the highest Guard of Honor rendered by the Russian Army yesterday. The Guard of Honor was conducted under the patronage of Commander-in-Chief of the Russian Ground Forces, General Oleg Salyukov. The Sri Lankan Army Commander also took part in the event held to pay floral tributes to the tomb of unknown soldier in Moscow. A religious observance was held at the Sri Lalala Maligava in Kandy to commemorate Air Force war heroes who had disappeared and lost their lives in the war. The event was held with the participation of Air Force Commander Air Marshal Sudarshana Pathirana.
Now, primary grades in all schools were resumed yesterday under the second phase of the program to reopen schools in the country. Now, today is the second day of this initiative. The education activities of the primary sections of all state and government-approved private schools resumed yesterday under strict health guidelines. The schools were closed for a period of nearly 6 months. Reports have shown that children were attending schools with great enthusiasm today. This is the situation at the Sripati Mahavidyalaya in Andadola, Balapitiya today. The Hatton Educational Zonal Office has indicated that the attendance of students has improved compared to yesterday. Students in Polonnaru district also attended schools today with much enthusiasm. Well, that's a wrap of tonight's primetime news bulletin here at Rupavahini ChannelEye. And until we meet again next time, do take care, stay safe and good night.
Good night.